All our lives, we've been told to go to school, get good grades, get a good job, and you'll be set. How's that working out for you? I'm TaVona Denise, physical therapist turned life and business coach, and I'm on a mission to help you create a life you love and a business on your terms. If you want more time, more freedom, more flexibility, I can help you create it. Welcome to Breaking Protocol, the show for women in healthcare who want more. All right. I am joined by Dr. Omolara Thomas Uwemedimo. And I just love saying your name, Omolara, now that I can. I literally had to practice when I met you saying your name, but it's a beautiful thing. And so now everybody gets to practice saying Dr. Omolara. So the last time we got together, it was kind of to discuss your wake-up call and your journey from doctor to patient to entrepreneur. And so I wanted to reconnect with you because we had another powerful conversation, and you have been doing some amazing things in your business ever since. So can you please start off by introducing yourself and telling us what you do?
Yeah, so I'm Omolara Thomas Uwemedimo. I'm a physician, a pediatrician, and I actually run a personal development incubator specifically for Black women physicians to help them pretty much start to uncover the barriers that are keeping them unfulfilled, stuck, and frustrated, and move them to a journey where they start to feel more fulfilled, more clear about what their vision is, and actually implement that.
Awesome. And you also have a Facebook group for these lovely ladies, right?
I do have a Facebook group. So I run a Facebook group. It's probably, yesterday it was a year. I'm sorry. Yeah, yesterday was my year anniversary. And we have about a little over 1,200 Black women in there, physicians, a few other dentists and other healthcare professionals, but the majority are physicians. And it's a great place. It honestly is like this safe space where people are really connecting. We do a lot of teaching in there pretty much weekly. And then we also do a spotlight series where women who have been doing either businesses or writing books, they can showcase what they do. And what we don't like to do is just put links to people's businesses. We actually do these video interviews, spotlight interviews, where we learn about their journey, what were the barriers, what made them go into it, so that we're hoping people don't just learn about what they do, but how they did it, so they can emulate pieces of that.
Exactly. And that's am I saying this right? Melanin, motherhood, and medicine. I think I flipped two of them.
Melanin, medicine, and motherhood.
Yeah. See, I was close.
and in parentheses, I put non-moms are welcome because I put that in the group name.
Right. But I think it's so important what you said. And it's the same thing that I love to do with Breaking Protocol, is to help people see other women like them, examples. And I feel like when you see an example of somebody that kind of is like you in a similar situation, background, looks like you, what have you, then it's almost like you get permission to do the same, or there's like an opening that happens in your brain, like, wait, oh, maybe I can do that. So when you and I really wanted to pull you back on and talk a little bit about one conversation that you and I had in particular, like a coaching conversation. And I think it was really powerful. So I wanted people to get your vision or your view or perspective of what happened that night. So can you go back to that night when we spoke? What was the problem that you were facing specifically at that time?
Yeah, I think the problem was that I had started my business. However, I was at the point where I had sold a few in a kind of beta form of my business and was in the middle of, I would say, kind of a dry spell where I was rethinking, was it me? Was it the business model? Was it marketing? What was it that actually may not be translating? And in that conversation, I had thought, well, maybe it's the structure of the business, I had created it in a way that it was very high touch. It was very small, and very personal. And the concern for me was, is this the model that is going to be profitable? Is it the model? I had seen many other different models like membership communities and larger things, and was starting to say, is it the model? Maybe I have the wrong model, and started to like put together and craft other things outside of what I felt was probably more in line with how I wanted to provide my service.
And so it was, if I'm remembering correctly, it was one of those situations where you had something, you had sold it, and then you were shifting some things. And so what was the main thing, like you weren't quite sure, but what was the main thing that we discussed, would you say, that made the biggest impact?
Yeah, I think it was specifically around, I think I was interested in kind of doing this multi-tier membership. And the model really was a small, very high touch, like incubator, which included basically a prolonged time period. I think it was about 3 months at that time. It's extended now to 6 months, but it was very like small group oriented with a mix of group coaching and one-on-one work. And I was thinking, well, maybe I can add this and add these trainings and add these guests and other things to make it into something that might be at a lower price point, but really like large to encompass a bunch of people. And I think it came from the concern that when I wasn't selling, that there was a concern that it was the model, and I had to shift the model, and not really thinking about kind of, was I already convinced that my work was powerful and like was actually worthy of both the price and also the value of it. And so I feel like the conversation that we had was more, I almost say it was like you giving me permission to just go with my gut and do the work how I created it, instead of trying to look at kind of other models that seem to quote unquote have been successful for other people, and not letting that kind of cloud what my intuition and my general feeling was of how I can best serve the women that I serve.
Yeah, I think I get that a lot with people. Is like we try to pigeonhole and jam it into something that we see other people doing rather than going with our own instincts, and it backfires every time. So going from that night on, what results were you able to create in your business?
Yeah, so once I kind of solidified that this was the way I was going to go, it went pretty well. I decided, I mean, not like automatically, but it went
Of
like,
course.
I was able to kind of go in the weeds around how did I want to format this. I actually went back to my original model that I had sold with the beta, and was just like, okay, maybe I just need to get it in front of more people. And I focused on being more consistent in my emails. And actually I had launched, but it wasn't like a huge launch because I didn't really know how to do that. So it was more of, just putting out more that I was selling this out to people, and doing that in my email, and doing that more consistently, doing that in my Facebook group, and doing that more consistently. And literally the day that I had put, which was the day that the new cohort was going to start, at that time it was a cohort model, I had gotten like one person before then. I was like, and then all of a sudden there were, of course, like I would say 24 hours before we're supposed to start, I'm starting to get all of these different calls from people. And so it was funny because I just sat to myself like, so you guys have not been listening for the past month and a half that I'm selling this thing only now. And then I was able to get about 6 new women into my group at the higher price point that I knew that it was worth. Actually, it's more now at this point for this newer cohort. But yeah, so it was really successful in that way. And 6 women that it was really about being discerning and saying, okay, who's gonna really benefit from how I provide it, and using that lens, because I definitely had more calls than that, but was really from a place of confidence able to say, maybe I can't serve you, but I can serve you, and have that discernment and that confidence in being able to run the business, identify who I serve, and now be much more confident that I do it really well and in a way that no one else can.
And just because you followed your own intuition, your own gut, like instead of trying to model it after what other people were doing. And I love that so much, because I'm like watching you and seeing your celebration posts and cheering along with you. And the beautiful thing is, like, nothing had to change. Like, you didn't change the price lower and try to sell it to people, and you increase the price. And what I also noticed in what you said is, because you got more confident and you just made the decision, like, this is how I want to do it, then you started showing up more and more consistently and things like that. And so one of the things that I noticed is, when we become more confident and we become more certain, then the people that want to work with us become more certain too. So that was awesome. How would you describe what it's like to be in a coaching situation with me?
Oh, I think that, you ask a lot of questions, which is normal for a coach. I think one of the things is, it's almost like you are trying to really make sure that you're not pushing a certain strategy. It's more of like really just being very true to and honest to the idea that we do have that answer, or we actually know what the answer is. And also, I think the idea is that you are like relentless in terms of making sure that we get to that point of where we have that revelation. Like, it's not like, okay, 30 minutes are up. it's like, okay, I mean, our conversations have been extremely long at times, and it was like, wow, like really seeing that kind of devotion. Not only you can tell like you enjoy what you do, which is great, but then it's also the ability to say, you know what, this matters, like for this person to actually get the concept and get that result that really matters for them to start to have the revelation or the discernment that they need. So I'm gonna make sure we get to that place before we stop that conversation.
Oh, okay. So that's all my questions, and going fast, like, oh, you're 30 minutes up. What would you say your favorite part of like coaching with me is?
Oh, well, I just like you a lot. So I think it's just like being able, it's not like, okay, like I don't have to be somebody different or impress you or anything. Like, it's just like, well, definitely I think through the process, being able to really know that I can be absolutely like open with what I'm feeling is extremely, especially as a Black woman, is saying something, because so often we don't feel that we don't feel that comfortable in many spaces. And so I really value the idea that I can come to you and feel that level of comfort. And that really allows for the process to take place in a way that I don't think it would if that level of vulnerability wasn't there.
That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. So, last question for you. Who would you recommend my services to, and why?
Oh, yeah. So I think definitely, and I have recommendation services.
And I appreciate it.
So I think definitely for people who either are in business and feel like they have been following all of these different like models or whatever, coaches do this or coaches do that, and who really are just frustrated and kind of like, how come this isn't working? And for people to really understand that you kind of mix both the life coaching and the business coaching, but the idea that the model is for them to cultivate. It's not like a one size fits all, do this. And so people who are kind of have gone through some frustration in their business of not seeing I've done all the tactics, but haven't done the internal work to say, what is the model that makes the most sense for me, that like fits with me and is value led. I think people who haven't done that work would really benefit from being with you in terms of approaching their business and wanting it to be successful.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Omolara. I know you're in the midst of a big launch now that you know how to do one. So I really, truly appreciate your time and sharing what your experience was like with everyone. And if you want to experience the power of a coaching conversation, go to TaVonaDenise.com/momentum. Again, that's TaVonaDenise.com/momentum.